or what the deal, excuse me. This your man King Louis out live, about to build with you real quick about some things that's been eating at me and maybe eating at you, and share some things you might not know real quick about. It's 3 things I'm gonna touch on, so it's gonna be a brief video. The first one is what I heard in the news on NPR radio in Detroit. I think I was listening to 101.7. I think is that. And they was talking about, and they was interviewing students and how they felt about COVID-19 and Black Lives Matter movement. I got some acne and shit. What is that? And so and so they interviewed this white young student, and he said, they asked him how did he feel about the whole Black Lives Matter movement, and he said it was unnecessary and uncalled for because he didn't believe in institutional racism and he didn't think the police was that bad. I say, wow. Wow. He said it was like irresponsible for them to have that movement, and he didn't think the police was that bad. And I'm like, well, man, so now that I talk about it, it seems like he may be in denial about the state of racism in this country, right? He may be in denial about what he see and read and hear, right? Because police brutality and the killings of black men and women and boys and girls is real. Far as I can see, far as I can tell, it's real. And so, it's, man, I don't even know how to get in touch or how to communicate with somebody that don't think, black people standing up for each other is wrong. So, and the second thing I want to talk about is real important. I follow Dr. Umar, that's my man's. And, he's a Pan-Africanist, right? Which means he is pro-people in America and the rest of pro-black people in America moving to Africa, visiting Africa and building in Africa. That's what a Pan-African is. And so, he's animated about visiting and building and living in Africa. I don't have no problem with that. That's, I follow Dr. Umar. That's all right, right? But he said that it is wrong for us to call ourselves African Americans, right? I was listening to his podcast, one of his long-winded radio show. I don't know, podcast. He was on some show, and he was talking about, how it was wrong for Americans, for black people in America to refer to ourselves as African Americans. I say, right? I say, I don't think that's right. Now, I love to disagree with Dr. Umar, and I love to be corrected and checked by Dr. Umar. It's all good. We can disagree. There's no beef. This is how we learn, right? And so I'm thinking, so I'm listening, exercising and listening. I'm like, man, so a month or something, I said, I don't know if that's right? And so if the goal is reparations, and so I'm thinking about a lot of things, and they talk about reparations and things of that nature, and getting the government to understand and recognize why black people in America need reparations. Well, I'm like, well, we ought to embrace being called African Americans, for the government to refer to us as African Americans is acknowledging that we come, that our ancestors, that black people ancestors are from Africa, and slavery existed and was real. It was called the transatlantic slave trade that, kidnapped Africans from the, what is that, the East Coast, or the coast closest to the Atlantic, kidnapped Africans from that region and put them enslaved all around Europe, the Caribbean, and the United States, right? And maybe even Canada. I don't know. And so I'm like, man, you telling people to go to Africa, but don't embrace being called African American. This is how we don't know. Africa is a continent, right? And so every place, every bordered off region you see in Africa is a country, right? So they say Egypt. I think Egypt is a country. Mozambique is a country. Nigeria is the largest country in Africa. And what else? I think the Sudan is I think it's a country. And what else you got? Nigeria, Mozambique. It's a whole bunch of them. And so we don't know where we come from, but we do know that we come from Africa. Our ancestors, most of our 98% of our ancestors, if we black and have a European last name, came from Africa, right? So, so I'm like, we supposed to embrace being called African American. We supposed to embrace that, not reject it. But people feel, like it's a slight or a disrespect to be called African. But I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, if you a Pan-Africanist and you want the government to recognize slavery and reparations, we should embrace being called African American, right? That's, that help us closer to, that the government recognize that we African Americans, right? That get us closer to reparations, right? So in the news, maybe it was another news channel, they said, they talking about how now they're going to capitalize the being black to recognize black people. So you no longer going to be recognized as African American, but you're going to be recognized as a black person. And so you have so you're a black person, so you're a black American, right? Which means you was born in America, so why would you fight or contend that you need reparations, that, you need reparations, that, you don't suffer from the psychological effects, from the generational psychological effects of slavery. That's a real mental issue. It's black people suffer from the psychological effects of slavery. That's, stress, failure to progress through the educational system, through the traditional educational system, mass black incarceration, things of that nature. And so, you can research this, look it up. They're gonna, I don't know if they said that they are gonna do away with African American as a category to describe black people, but they said they're gonna describe and categorize black people in America with a capital B. So now you're just a black person with no origin of of a motherland. See, on my Instagram, I say black people. I made a meme. Black people are the only people that share a first and last name with white people. And so I like to ask a lot of people this, politicians and athletes. I say celebrities, actors. How do you think that is so? How do you think you come to have the same last name and the same first name in certain instances as white people? They don't like the answer. It like it triggers something and it causes pain, right? That's another psychological effect of slavery. Well, we share the same last name as white people do through slavery. Slaves, Africans, black people had to, when slavery was over, they took the last name of their slave owner, and maybe they changed the spelling, but that's how you come to have white and black Jacksons, white and black Smiths, white and black Gordons, white and black Browns, white and black Blacks, white and black Greens, white and black Whites, last name White. It's a Sam, it's a white Sam Smith, the singer in London, and it's a black Sam Smith somewhere. It's a black Will Smith, and it's a black, probably 2, 3, 4, 5 white Willie Smiths in the world. So, in the United States. So, the last name game is, just a form of oppression that they do, that, that keep you in check, in line. But, I think we going backwards if they let us or put on us just to be called black. All ethnic groups in this country, they identify with their homeland. You got the Irish, calls them Irish Americans. You got Mexican Americans. You got Arab Americans. You got Chinese Americans. You got Italian Americans. And so now black people got a problem with Africa so much it ain't even funny. We are African Americans. We should be proud to be African Americans. I lost my train of thought. And so this takes me to the lessons, right, of my knowledge of self. One of the lessons in the 120. It's in the 1 to 36, right? That's the conversation that they had, right? W.F. Muhammad and his student, right? And I'm supposed to know the degree. Now I'm wrong, I'm slipping, but it's in the one of it's near the last lessons, and it talked about, and that's one of my favorite lessons, the 1 to 36. And it talked about how we was brought over here enslaved. We was tricked and brought over here, and we didn't know where we were. And then so then at the end it says, so why didn't our people come get us? And the lesson said, because they didn't know where we was at. They said they didn't know. Now the lessons were in 1934, and so they said they didn't know we was where we was at until 66 years later. So you subtract 1934 minus 66, and that's when they found out that we was in the wilderness of North America, right? But they couldn't come get us because they didn't know where they took us. So I don't think we should have a problem with being called African American. if we unite, we'd be large in Africa and America and the rest of the world. We need a homeland, a place of origin where, your ancestors and skin color come from. See what I'm saying? So, man, I think y'all need to wake up and tell them, we're going to stay African American. That's going to hurt, the chance of, getting reparations, not identifying with the transatlantic slave trade. You see what I'm saying? And then last, I want to talk about Terry Crews and DL been in the news. DL banging on Terry, everybody banging on Terry. Big Terry Crews, Flint, Michigan native, right? They still talking about how he got groped, right? By this openly gay entertainment industry, film, television guy grabbed his private parts. Terry Crews, ex-NFL college football player, can bench probably 400, 500 pounds. Big, strong dude. I don't know how tall he is, 6'4", 6'3", somewhere around. Big, strong motherfucker. Cool than a motherfucker. Real cool, educated. You know what I'm saying? Mentally balanced. He's he's an open book. You can talk, he tell you about his he had a rough childhood, had a rough adulthood. You know what I'm saying? But people saying, Terry should have beat his ass. DL, though, I didn't beat his ass. Gene talking about he should have Big Gene. Talking about Big Gene DL just said, had a little comment about him. Terry should have, now they was at a industry party or something, right? And the dude groped him. The dude wrong. I think Terry sued the dude, right? And I think Terry won. But people say, why Terry beat that dude? Man, I don't think, Terry, if Terry would have hit the man, he probably would have killed him, right? And it's an unfortunate situation that happened to anybody, to a little woman, to a child, to anybody, right? But Terry had to use his mind, man. He had to say, how can I get this dude back by not going to jail? See what I'm saying? That was probably a play for him to come out of character, lose his composure, and slap and smack and beat the bejesus out that devil dude that groped him, right? It's like you can't be cool around gay people. They gonna test you. You understand? They gonna disrespect. They gonna insult you, thinking you going there. And Terry was with his wife, and they still, So, but Terry had to use his mind, man, and thank God, or thank knowledge, right? That, he didn't yoke that man up. We could have crushed that man. That little Eddie could have crushed that man's throat with one hand and killed the man. But he backed off, he calmed down, and he filed a lawsuit against that man. Yeah, I think it was his agent or something, right? So, why he done that? Why the agent done that? I don't know, man. But, they wanted Terry to show his Flint ghetto side, and I think that's foul of people to want him to exhort to violence, right? Y'all didn't say, why didn't Charlize Theron, why didn't Cameron Diaz and Lupita, why didn't they get together and kill Harvey Weinstein? They could have stabbed him up, set him up, put a hit on him. Y'all ain't saying that about them. See what I'm saying? So I think it's bad that, Terry used knowledge instead of violence, instead of physical, when he obviously, apparently could have killed the man right then and there with just a couple of blows or a front chokehold. See what I'm saying? You got to be smart when people trying to bring that out of you, trying to get Terry locked up. See what I'm saying? That ain't funny. You know, Terry had to rise to that occasion. No pun intended. So that's all I wanted to talk to y'all about, man. Terry Crews. All people don't think, you know, what's going on with Black Lives Matter marching is necessary. And, you know, let's keep African American and wake up and think about changing your name. Malcolm X ain't never lied about that. That is, you know, that is not our name, man. You know, if your name European, you know, then somewhere in your lineage, you know, you trace your great-great-grandparents, they was owned by somebody with that name. Unfortunately. You know, and, you know, this the real about being black in America. See? You know, black America. No, motherfucker, we African Americans. African Americans. Pan-African. How you gonna be a Pan-African and not being and not want to be called an African American? Now I know some Africans get mad. Some Africans from Africa get mad when you call them Africans. Because they're gonna tell you they from, you know, they Nigerian, they Egyptian, they South African, they Ghanaian. You know what I'm saying? They Mozambique, they Zulu tribe. See what I'm saying? You know, they Sudanese. See what I'm saying? So, you know, some gonna get mad, and that's understandable. But we as Americans should embrace, this is our entry into learning our origin. You know, our history starts before slavery. Black history starts before slavery. And, you know, when you confine yourself or limit yourself to just being black with no nation behind you, you know, you weakening yourself. You know, you got European Americans. So, that's all I'm saying, man. You know, that's all I'm saying. But wake up. Wake up. You know, don't let them put you back in black chains. African is freedom. You know, we can go to the continent of Africa and pick a country and get lost if we had to. You know, just get your shots. See what I'm saying? So that's all I'm saying. I'm out. Peace.